Hey now, after this, make sure to check out our review and episode rankings breakdown for Tales of the Jedi by subbing to the channel. Alright, let's get to those top moments from the first season of Tales of the Jedi. I'll start in episode order, which isn't my final rankings. Those are featured in another video, so don't skip out on that. Alright, so starting with Life and Death, which featured two top moments for fans, with the first simply being seeing Ahsoka's birth and the culture of her village and people. I really appreciated how they were similar to Native Americans with their connection to the land and beasts, but also with tradition and rituals. The whole deal that little kids have to go on a hunt with their mom after their first birthday was very interesting, and showed us a lot about where Ahsoka came from and why she turned into the hero we know she becomes. I also really enjoyed and at times had tears of happiness watching Ahsoka tame the beast and have it carry her home. I'm sure the emotions stem from me being a parent of a little girl and what that can do to a man, but it was just a beautiful moment to witness in the life of Ahsoka Tano. Moving on to Justice, the first moment that really stood out was just seeing Dooku and Jin together as master and apprentice. They're both iconic Force users who have great impact on the Skywalker saga, so seeing them as partners for the first time was a treat. The episode also featured some great moments of Dooku flirting with the dark side and his desire for order, which further helped to explain how Jedi can think or do dark things when they think they're doing something right. Of course, seeing Jin save him from himself only added to these moments, and it also yielded a great callback to an exchange Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan have down the road when Dooku tells Jin that he is a much wiser man than himself. When it comes to choices, its first standout moment is when Dooku tells Mace that he follows the rules too much. It not only showed that Dooku was more of a rogue in the Order, but it also showed how by the book Mace truly was, which bites him in the ass in the end. Mace really did feel like the serial Karn of the Jedi, and definitely led to the downfall of the Jedi thanks to his Dudley do-right demeanor. This episode also featured a great moment in Dooku realizing that the Jedi were ultimately the pawns of the Senate to do the bidding of the rich and powerful. He went as far as telling the prisoner that people have the right to defend their planet. You could clearly see the ideals that led him to leaving the Order and teaming with the Sith. He saw the writing on the wall with all the corruption in the Senate, but once again, his peers refused to listen. It was also neat to see how Mace ascended to the Council in this episode thanks to his by-the-book approach and the death of Master Katri. But even this scene offered a glimpse at Dooku's burgeoning disdain for the Order and their by-the-book ways, so it continued to add layers to Dooku's inevitable turn. The Sith Lord episode is a banger, and its first top moment was simply seeing Dooku do Palpatine's dirty work at the temple. We got to see him delete Kamino from the library using Sifo Dyas's codes, which was a big mystery in AOTC. The next moment of note was when Dooku learned of Jin fighting a Sith. As a die-hard fan of Star Wars, it was just really exciting to see all these moments play out during the Phantom Menace's timeline, because it really adds to the mysteries of that film and beyond. Scenes like this really brought context to Palpatine's long game, because based on TPM and then what is exposed in AOTC and ROTS, Dooku's actions were never really clear during the events of those films. So unless you have read his book or are a super fan of the character, you probably weren't aware that he was still with the Order during the events of the Phantom Menace. Continuing with that theme, seeing Dooku grieve Qui-Gon's death was also a choice moment, and one for the lore books. He clearly still cared about the Order and his pupil, but by this point he had already committed to Palpatine's plans, so the pain of Jin's loss only confirmed to him that he was doing the right thing by turning to the Sith. This episode's last top moment was another doozy, because it further fleshed out just how deep Dooku was in league with Palpatine during the Phantom Menace timeline. But more importantly, it finally showed what happened to Yaddle in between TPM and AOTC, which has been some sort of a mystery up until now. Now on to Practice Makes Perfect, which kicked off with a fun top moment during Ahsoka's droid remote training when you could see young Caleb Doom, aka Kanan Jarrus, getting all hyped watching Tano kick the hell out of the training remotes. If you blinked, you missed it, but I found it to be a very cool nod to Caleb's time at the temple, which is barely covered in any Star Wars medium. Honestly, this episode's best and final top moment was the end, in which we see a new perspective on a scene featured in the final season of the Clone Wars, and learn that thanks to Anakin's brutal training methods, Ahsoka was able to survive Order 66 on that Star Cruiser. That's just great storytelling on Dave's part, and a perfect example of the interconnected nature of Star Wars narratives. Let's close out the top moments with the final episode, Resolve, which kicked off with a great moment featuring Ahsoka at Padme's funeral. It's just a great lore nugget that adds more to the scene and her legacy, not to mention her journey directly after Order 66. The cherry on top is learning that she and Bail met up at the funeral, and he more or less planted the seeds for her to join the rebellion when the time was right for her. Oh, and this moment even led into seeing Rex again, who seemingly became Ahsoka's Uber driver after they crash-landed the Republic cruiser in TCW's Victory and Death episode. And the final top moment from this episode was simply seeing the moment Ahsoka officially joined the Rebel cause after she phoned into Bail to pick up the survivors of the Inquisitor massacre. One can say with confidence that this was her first step in becoming Fulcrum, and that's rad. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking it and subbing to our YouTube channel. We'd also love for you to join in with our weekly Star Wars podcast, so use the links in this video's description or head to StarWarsTime.net to subscribe to the platform of your choice. There's always time for Star Wars Time, and remember, if you listen to the Star Wars Time show, the Force will be with you, always.